Howdy folks, welcome to Bullish on Farming. Today's April 9th, evening check on the herd, and it's a pretty evening, pretty sight. First half of April, cows are grazing, they're fat, they're healthy, they're clean, they look great, and that feels awesome heading into May, which is our calving season. Still a couple weeks yet, but we're going to talk about how our transition season into May is going and some of the things that we have coming up to manage our herd. And so I guess I'll start with March 15th was the day we started to resume grazing. If you haven't seen this channel before, we're currently on a stockpiled winter field. And ever since March 15th, when grazing conditions became favorable, we started opening up the paddocks, beginning the rotation. 2 days on grazing, third day I roll out a bale. And, you know, when we've been getting cold episodes, I've been bringing out more hay. So, you know, if we get 2 right frozen days back to back, I'll roll out the bales those mornings and then, you know, allow the cows to continue grazing. We've been getting some snow with cold nights. And so when the ground freezes and the cows have to work through snow, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but we have the hay to supplement the cows. And the main transition that we're happy about right now is that the grass has become the primary source of feed for the cattle, and hay is now a supplement. And so technically, in this dormant season, this typically wet, non-grazing season, if you're talking conventional grazing, we're feeding 33% hay when we could very well be feeding 100% hay up until the beginning or middle of May. Good thing we have stockpiled rested fields, and you know, it's nothing spectacular. I've talked about before how we're missing those warm season grasses and late cool season grasses to really come in and fill out the pasture. And I know, you know, we're in April, so I'm not expecting things to be vibrant, but we could be with more green undergrowth. We got plenty of carbon laid out on the land, which is great because with all the manure, that's going to give us the formula for fertility and compound that carbon armor, which equips our field to accommodate our animals in wet seasons and, you know, cover the soil beneath the cow's hoof and you know, we take a look, a lot of brown, and that's food for the soil. It'll also feed our cows. But I guess we're still rolling hay because anything that's missing in this pasture, I'm hoping they get from the hay. And what have I been doing to make sure that my cows have been staying healthy? Well, I've just been evaluating their condition. I've really been closely monitoring how the cows look after 2 days of grazing before I roll out the bale. And that's how I came to the conclusion that on cold days, I'm not going to push my cows through that 48-hour duration, at least not this year. And I was just looking at this cow because she is fat. You know, they're all pregnant, but for cows that are primarily grazing at this time of year, it feels good to have fat animals. This is a steer finishing this year. I mean, 100% grass-fed, grass-finished. He's a finished steer. And that's what we want to see. But anyways, this year, because it's our first year doing the winter stockpile program on this farm, we really don't want to push it, okay? We don't know what this land is fully capable of. I've visually evaluated, I've monitored the animals, but time really hasn't revealed itself. And it's not like I'm anti-hay, I'm pro-grazing. And so whenever conditions are favorable, these ruminant animals should be able to harvest vegetation rooted in soil. You know, no one was cutting and baling hay when cattle were evolving through a wildlife life cycle, right? They were moving through the seasons like every other wild animal we've come to know. And having said that, we are farm growing beef. We want to give our animals optimal conditions, both for their quality of life, but for the quality of beef, finished beef, fat animals that are great for a sustainable grass-fed beef business, right? And so I'm not counting on this to feed my cows in the elbow seasons alone. It's good to know that we can and that we are. And in the years to come, as the fertility of our soil increases and so forth, the forage quality, I trust that the land will be able to sustain our animals in the ways that are ideal when we think about grazing year-round or whenever conditions are favorable. However, we don't have to be in year 10 while we're still in year 1. So, that's why showing this stuff is great, because I know there's people out there who they've got to be asking, how do we keep the animals on the land year-round? Is it possible? And let me see how you can do it, because I can't wrap my head around it. Well, it's really quite simple. You have to have enough acres for your animals to keep them on the move and give ample rest recovery, especially when you're doing higher impact occupations at specific times of year. For instance, this winter field, we're prepared to let this rest and recover until next fall, winter. We don't need animals on it. If it's showing strong June, July, May, June, we may come nip the tips in June, but we're fully prepared to give this a total rest recovery, because we might be grazing a bit harder than we would when we're in rotation, spring through fall. And we're doing higher impact methods like rolling out hay, and then even higher impact when we were bale grazing January, February, which is now sectioned off to just recover. That is a very high impact method that needs more rest to recover and bounce back. And you see, we're laying out so much food for fertility in this field, and all this impact has just been sweeping this way. And so we landed in this field late December. And so January, February, March, week in April, let's call it a week in December. You're talking 3.5 months worth of cow manure and impact that's been deposited on this field. And this field is not hurting for it. If anything, it's going to be better for it. And we're not going to be firing up the tractor to spread manure, burning all that fuel, doing all that work that you just can't wait to get done. And farming becomes a bit more fun, especially if you just want to focus on the relationship between the land and the animals, figuring that out, and having healthy animals with a high quality of life, and healing and restoring the land through nature's design, through the way it all figured it out already over millennia. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just trying to keep cows happy, heal the land, and give them a full life, right? And the consequences of that are quite positive. So, that's kind of how we've managed up to this point. Bale grazing, which is transitioned into grazing, which is still supplemented by rolling out hay every third day. Reducing hay as feed to 33%. And, if we get a good April and there's more green and a nice bounce up, we have fields that are already rested to take our animals next. Last year, we turned out May 1st, grazing into the spring flush. If we're able to get out late April, so be it. But it always feels good to know that I can roll out hay. Eventually, the scales tip. The cows stop going for the hay. They only really eat the grass. And it's a very smooth transition. Helps with kind of that diarrhea You're not unplugging your animals from foraging, getting them to eat dehydrated hay, and then just putting them on lush pasture. And those who are experienced running cattle know that it's good to, you know, ease, I guess, any animal in this sense, and even humans, ease something into their diet instead of making a stark change. So going from hay straight to green lush pasture. I mean, the cows inevitably are going to get the runs a bit, but you can mitigate that by keeping them plugged into their foraging rhythm. And so you balance that brown and green, it balances the rumen, and it reflects the dietary transition that nature has designed for wildlife, including these animals. Just fat calves. And so, yeah, moving forward, I am going to be separating the finished steers as well as the calves. And that's going to run in a stalker group, let's call it. Going to throw our dairy cow in it. And then we have a shed attached to that pasture where we're going to be loading sorted beef that's going off to the butcher. And the mums will run in their own group for the next calf crop to come this year. And so we're really looking forward to it. The herd is growing, but we are still maintaining about 3 acres per cow. And when I say per cow, I mean per head, actually. So the cow units, anyways, let's just call it around 3 per cow. And that allows us to do what we're doing here. So what we don't want to do is not have grass when conditions are favorable to graze. Like if we didn't have grass right now, what would we be doing? Feeding hay. But like I say, right now we're feeding 33% of the amount of hay that we would be, strictly because we have a buffet available to them that sunlight, rain, and I guess you could call the management and the rest recovery all did the work in creating. Didn't need to cut, bale, and have big machinery to do it. So anyways, folks, I hope everything's going well for everybody else. I'm going to cap it off here. I'd like to say thanks for stopping by and God bless you all. We'll see you on the next one.